Hello, hello, Facebook. It is noon on Wednesday, so that means it is Facebook Live time. We are here at the headquarters of Last Call Trivia in beautiful Newport, Kentucky. So it was great starting this last week, and we are back for more. As you have heard last week, that I'm part of the writing team, have been for a while. Last week we went over our 10-year anniversary by looking at the first show that we ever did. So we kind of went over what could make a better trivia question. This week we're going to go over where do they come from? Where do these trivia questions come from? And I thought it would be fitting to tell you what today is as the National Day. So if you didn't know, today is National Tell a Joke Day. So in celebration of that, I am going to tell you a joke, and I'm wanting your answers. So it's kind of a dad joke, so be ready. What did the 0 say to the 8? Anybody know the answer to that? I'll give you guys a little bit of time. I know last week when I asked questions, I may or may not have revealed the answer before people were even able to guess. So I'll give you a little bit of time to answer questions, and there are a couple questions we have today, so we'll do it that way. It's also along the same lines as jokes. I know Aaron last week made a joke about the Keurig machine lid being up. It's down this week, so made sure we cleaned up for week 2 of Facebook Live. Today, also, in the spirit of things, is National Rum Day. So, pulled a question from our database about rum, or that has to deal with rum. What soda lends its name to a cocktail mixing amaretto, rum, and beer? Again, what soda lends its name to a cocktail mixing amaretto, rum, and beer? There's question number 2. So, one more national day for you. It is also National Roller Coaster Day. So, it's great weather to be doing that. I don't know if you guys have been out this summer. I haven't. For those of you in Cincinnati, you know we have Kings Island somewhat nearby. I have not been up yet. I don't know if you guys have. If you have, I hope you had fun. I have a roller coaster question. This one's on the easier side. What best-selling computer game received 2 expansion packs titled Corkscrew Follies and Loopy Landscapes? Did you get any answers yet, Aiden, to any of the questions?
No one yet.
No? All right. Well, we'll keep it going. You guys still have plenty of time. So, all of that being said, there is a ton of stuff that could be looked over, could be researched. Just take the word joke or the topic of jokes.
Adam wanted us to know that Maverick is the greatest roller coaster in the world.
Oh yeah? Well, where is Maverick? I don't even know where that is. Is that up in Cleveland?
Sandusky, maybe?
Sandusky?
We'll wait for Adam to let us know.
Okay.
We do have a guest to the roller coaster question.
Okay.
Adrian guessed, was that Roller Coaster Tycoon?
It is Roller Coaster Tycoon, yes. That was a very fun game. Kind of went off of Sim City and the whole building thing. So that's a perfect example. So you take Roller Coaster Tycoon, you say, what kind of game is this? You know, it's a computer game, but you know, what type of game is it? And there are tons of tycoon games and sim games. Got something?
Adam told us that Maverick is in fact at Cedar Point in Sandusky, and it looks like we have an answer to the rum question.
Yeah.
Kara believes that alcoholic drink is called a Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, Dr. Pepper, flaming Dr. Pepper is the cocktail. So you guys are doing good. You're killing it. Nobody has an answer to what did the 0 say to the 8 yet. But we'll keep that one up there. My dad told me that joke when I was probably 10 years old, and I've been telling it at least once every couple months since I was 10 years old. So if you've heard it, I apologize. I love it. But yeah, all that stuff, you know, it's Sandusky, Ohio. That's, you know, you think of, it's National Roller Coaster Day. Sandusky, Ohio, you think, oh, Tommy Boy. Tommy Boy was in Sandusky, right?
I have no idea. You're the trivia expert.
So it's things like that. You just take one and you kind of start digging a hole, and you can get kind of along the lines of the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. It's just everything is tied to everything else. We got an answer for something?
Adam believes it's because 7, 8, 9, but I'm not sure that's the right joke.
That's another one. That's another one. What did the 0 say to the 8? I'm going to give it away. It's nice belt.
Ha, ha, ha.
Think about it. Write down a 0 and write down an 8, and you'll understand the answer to the question.
Dice confirmed that Tommy Boy is, in fact, in Sandusky.
So Tommy Boy, and then, the state of Ohio, other roller coasters, other theme parks. We kind of have been a little, not theme park heavy on questions lately, but they have definitely been out there over the past month, 2 months. So that's something to think about when writing the trivia questions. It's like, what else does this have to do with? And there are plenty of other sources of question inspiration. We actually, for about a year or so, we have a database. So the whole team, of course, isn't involved in question writing, but the whole team, loves trivia because we are a trivia company. So there's a database that people, a lot of us travel a lot of us go out a lot of us like to read. So this database, it's, Aiden went across country, and, one day in the database there was Route 66 landmarks and Grand Canyon and the state of, the states out west, and just a whole bunch of stuff. And just out of 5 or 6 of those, you could, go down that hole and find, 50 questions about, a landmark or something about the state that she traveled through. So it's all about, finding little nuggets. And those little nuggets, they appear everywhere. Of course, a lot of the stuff comes from the internet, different websites. Britannica has a website, Wikipedia. You start at Wikipedia, and then you review the sources and go through the sources and find your way through the internet to great trivia questions. I've even thought up questions from stuff that I learned in college that aren't too specific to the major, but you have to take those core classes in college. Got something?
Yeah, Brooklyn wants to get one of these trivias right for once, and she's looking for a Disney question.
A Disney question? I don't have any Disney questions today. Well, the wizard's name, she's going to know the answer to this. The wizard's name in Fantasia.
All right, we'll wait on Brooklyn for
that one. But yeah, well, we talked about this last week with the theme shows, and just because there were questions involved in the theme shows, they still can appear on a regular show, just not the entire show. But the databases of questions that or the databases of facts for those, Star Wars.com. If you click on, I think it's library or data or something, it's just millions and millions of little tidbits that you can, pick apart and make into your own. So there's that, and then
Aaron wanted to remind us that Star Wars is now part of Disney. You can stump Brooklyn with a Star Wars question. But Brooklyn thinks she knows the answer. She says Yesnid, which is Disney backwards?
Yensid.
Yensid.
Yeah, that's it. Good job, Brooklyn. Thanks for putting me on the spot. I'm not very rounded in my brain for Disney stuff, but it's just a combination of all of those things. Even food containers. I've been at Chipotle before, and on the cups, if you've ever been there and got a drink, there are paragraphs and paragraphs of stuff that sometimes they're facts that you can go and look up. Of course, you want to verify it online, because that's another thing you can run into. There are these websites online that they're all about facts, or coolfacts.com, and you go in there and like half of them would be incorrect, but they sound good, so they could be correct, but they just aren't sometimes. So that's another thing. You got to make sure that where you're going is reputable. So there's that. There's the food containers, and then of course one of the biggest things that some people enjoy, some people don't enjoy as much, like pop culture. So movies, music, TV. The music, movies, and TV themselves are things that you can ask questions about.
Adam wants to know, how do you write a Disney show? Are there certain parameters for the variety or difficulty levels of the questions?
There are. So, as you know, Disney is, Aaron mentioned it, Star Wars is involved now. We probably wouldn't include too much Star Wars in a Disney show. We didn't this past time. But, there's a wide... Disney has its own TV channel. Disney has movies. Disney has, live action and animated movies.
Cruise lines.
Even.
Theme parks.
Theme parks. See, there's just, it's endless for what you can get. So if you say you have 3 questions in one round of trivia, you wouldn't want to ask all questions about, animated films that came out in the 90s. You might want to start with, a Pocahontas question and then move on to something that happened at a Disney theme park 20 years ago, and we've got something.
Aaron wants to know, have you ever had to switch a question that was correct at the last minute because of something that happened in the news that day that then rendered that question incorrect?
Oh, gosh. I don't. It's not that I can think of. No, we've had to go back from questions that were already asked and edit it for record keeping purposes. But as far as that day, and I don't even think that week. But along those lines, it's not that, but along those lines, I would say I can probably 10 to 15 times that I can remember that we asked a question about something or someone, and then the next week even the same day that the question was asked, we wrote it a week before, and the same day that the question was asked, something happened regarding that person, and they were all over the news, and then we had a question about it that night. So it's not exactly what you're asking about, Aaron, but it's strange how sometimes we write things and it becomes relevant, more relevant than it would have been.
We have another question for you. What makes a trivia question a bad question?
What makes a trivia question a bad question? There are a couple things. If sometimes questions, they can be what is this? It's not necessarily that it's bad. It's just most of the time there can be more information put into the question to make it a better trivia question. So it's not necessarily bad, but it's just, it could be better. There are also questions, and honestly, we have been guilty of it in the past, and not purposely, but there are some gotcha questions where you're asking a question and it specifically points to one answer, but it leads people down the path to something else, and then we are looking for something it's correct. It's just kind of a gotcha, because it's like, well, yes, that would be correct if A, B, and C, but the question said B, C, and D. So that's an instance of what makes a question bad. And then, I mean, obviously, questions in bad taste, that's never a good thing to ask, a question that would offend somebody or, just cause problems. And so that would definitely be a bad question to ask, questions in bad taste or vulgar questions, because Last Call likes to be, accessible to, people of all ages. We have shows at, 6:30 in the evening all the way to 9, they start. So, kids are out a lot. So we try to, make sure that all the questions are not vulgar. So
Adrian gave an example of you writers kind of jinxing someone. He mentioned that Shonda Rhimes was an answer on Monday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is one. So it's crazy how many times that happens, and we don't do it on purpose. We don't control the universe. So, and we don't give shows to people the day of. So it's not like we're like, oh, we need to put this in tonight's show. It's just sometimes it happens. So yeah, those were really great questions, and it's crazy how much, both where we get inspiration for questions and how they affect the world around us both kind of tie into each other. So I appreciate those questions.
We have an interesting question from Aaron. He wants to know, how many times have you been fired by Adam?
Gosh, too many to count. I don't know.
Yet somehow you're still here.
Yeah, I'm still here. Drew keeps hiring me back, so.
We have a running inside joke at the office where one of the owners of the company will fire one of us and then the other immediately rehires us. So it's nice to know that happens.
Yeah, I've never really been fired. At least I don't think. Not that I can remember.
Can you give us an example of a bad question and then how you could make it better?
A bad question and then how I could make it better. I mean, we kind of did that last week of adding more information. Let's see. A bad question and making it better. I really just adding more information into the question to give people a better chance at knowing how to answer it, or if that's really the best thing that I can think of off the top of my head. I don't really want to reference the bad taste questions that are possible, because I don't want to talk about things in bad taste, obviously. Well, there's bonus questions. You guys know bonus questions. Sometimes the numbers are huge, like they are incredibly large, and so just adding in millions or in billions really makes the question easier to read for the host as well as answer for the teams.
Do you ever feel like you can add too much information?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So like last week we talked about the Nirvana albums. If we gave Nevermind as an album example in the question instead of saying an album did this, it would be too much information, and it would make the question a lot easier. So it is definitely possible to add too much information to the question to make it just too easy. So there's that.
How about the mashup style questions? How the heck do you come up with those?
Mashups? I would actually really enjoy to get people's take on what they think of those. I've gotten some feedback, or we as a team have gotten some feedback. Some positive, some negative, and I'd like more, because I personally love writing those questions, but I understand there's a time and place for them, and having multiple, many of them in one show would maybe be too much, but it's a lot of fun taking like Backstreet Boys in the Hood. It's just fun to say, and it's a lot of fun to make a story about a boy band and a movie about the Hood, and make a story of those two things to allow people to come up with an answer. So those are really fun.
Aaron hates them.
Well, yeah. See, that's the thing is that some people like them, but that's another thing is that in writing that story to allow people to come up with the answer is the story can make sense when you have the answer, but if you don't have the answer, it's tough. So that's writing the mashup questions. It's kind of a double-edged sword because it's really fun. But you have to be really careful to make sure that you include enough information for people to be able to know what you're talking about. So, yeah, I think we covered quite a bit today. Everybody answered all of the questions, and I think we are good for this lunch. 10 minutes, not lunch hour. This is lunch for Wednesday, and I appreciate it, guys. We all appreciate it here at Last Call Trivia. It was great to see you, check in with you, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks. Have a good day.